The next thing I want to talk about is to give you a quick demonstration of a tool called Cryptool. And Cryptool basically can help you learn how cryptography works. Now, it's an educational program that teaches cryptography from the basics all the way to the advanced level, so everyone can learn something from Cryptool. It contains tutorials, demos, and working cryptographic tools. It uses a wide variety of algorithms, both symmetric and asymmetric, to demonstrate how encryption and decryption work, as well as some of the other techniques like digital signatures that are based upon asymmetric encryption and so forth. Now, there's a version 1, a version 2, and the online web-based version. Now, version 1 and version 2 aren't just upgrades from each other. Version 1 is a totally different tool and is still updated on a periodic basis, and version 2 does some different things than version 1 does. So I'd like to kind of show you a little bit of both tools right now. And what I want to show you is to enforce our discussion on algorithms and keys, kind of show you in Cryptool what some of these things look like. Okay, I'm in Cryptool version 1. There's some things I want to show you how Cryptool works. And you can open different documents to play with, and it gives you this sample document here that just has some text, basically, that you can encrypt and decrypt. For example, I could use something like a symmetric algorithm, classic, and when they're talking about classic, they're really talking about substitution and transposition ciphers, older ciphers. For example, just a quick demo of the Caesar ROT13. You would change this maybe to, let's say, an M, and encrypt, and that's what you would get. So that's the kind of encryption we used back in the 3rd and 4th grade to send notes between classes and so forth to each other. So that's just a quick demonstration of that. But you can also use more modern types of tools like RC2, RC4, DES, TripDES, and the different variants, the ECB and CBC modes of DES, for example, or the CBC mode of even AES. So you click that and you would put in a key and then encrypt that text, and that would show you how AES works. Some other things, cool things that Cryptool can do is obviously give you some demonstrations on RSA types of encryption and decryption. In fact, there's an RSA demonstration in there where you would generate prime numbers to basically develop a public and private key. And it shows you how this is done using the prime numbers and so forth. And you could put in a message, for example, and just say Bobby and encrypt, and you might get different kinds of ciphertext out of here. Let's close this, and another thing I want to show you is a signature demonstration, and this is basically a demonstration of how digital signatures work. And we won't go through this right now. We'll go through this a little bit later when we talk about digital signatures. It's a good demonstration to talk about while we discuss digital signatures. So there's all these different tools and things you can do in Cryptool, and I bring it up because the official EC Council course also mentions Cryptool, and it's really useful for hackers to learn how encryption works from this tool, as a matter of fact. It actually has tools in here that you can use in some of your hacking. There are analysis tools in here for different attacks. For example, a ciphertext only attack, a known plaintext attack, and we're going to cover those a little bit later as well, and we'll look at these tools. And that's really why I bring this up, because I want to show you some of the things we're going to be doing a little bit later in our discussions on cryptography, and we'll be using Cryptool to do that with. So let's go ahead and look at Cryptool version 2, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm looking at Cryptool 2 now, which is the second version of it, and really version may be a bad way to say it. There are certain things that are upgraded and do a little bit better than Cryptool 1, and there's a different user interface, but I have found that there are differences in the way some of the information is presented. And one of the cool things about Cryptool 2 is it gives you a little bit better of a set of analysis tools that you can use even in your hacking efforts, if you will. There's an AES analysis using entropy. There's AES known plaintext analysis, cube attack, DES analysis, and so forth. So there's these different analysis tools that are in there, and you can actually paste your text in there that you're trying to crack and run these different attacks on it. So you could consider Cryptool 2 an attack tool. But again, I like the educational value of it, and I think it's worth it to spend some time in both Cryptool 2 and Cryptool 1 before you take the exam so that you can get an idea of how cryptography works a little bit. And it uses kind of a wizard-driven type of interface here. You have encryption or decryption, and this would allow you to encrypt plain text or decrypt ciphertext. And you can choose which algorithm you want to use. You can do analysis on a piece of ciphertext for a specific algorithm. So if you were trying to break DES or trip DES, for example, you can do cryptanalysis on it. You can actually do some hashing, similar to what we'll look at with Karen's hasher and MD5 sum later on. There are also mathematical functions, prime factorizations that you would use with the RSA, for example, common codes, and some other tools in here. Just some real simple nitnoid stuff like encoding with base 64, for example. So Cryptool actually has some pretty cool analysis tools in there that you can use. So I would suggest you practice it and play with it a little bit. And not only will you be able to assist your hacking efforts, but you'll actually learn a lot about cryptography as well.